In Stoicism, sexuality is considered a complex topic with various aspects to consider. Although not prohibited completely, some Stoics did advocate sexual abstinence on certain occasions or under certain conditions. Emotions, like waves hitting the shore, can shake our calm. The longing for material things, for recognition or for love, can generate a storm within us. However, mastering our deepest passions and desires can influence our tranquility, our inner peace. Today, we are going to delve into a topic that is often surrounded by taboos and misunderstandings, but which, at the same time, is a driving force in the lives of many: sex. At the end of the video, you will learn some of the reasons that the Stoics gave for not having sexual relations, or at least for practicing them with moderation and prudence. Maybe this thing about sexual abstinence does not suit your convictions, since it is an activity that is part of human nature. But to understand the point of view of Stoicism, it is necessary that we open our minds to philosophical thought. To understand its meaning, let's analyze the main reasons of the school of Stoicism for sexual abstinence. Number 1, self-control. This is one of the fundamental aspects of Stoic philosophy that we can all apply in our lives. And although sometimes letting ourselves be carried away by our impulses makes us feel good, this should not become a habit. Much less when it comes to sex. Sex, although it is one of the most intimate and pleasurable experiences in life, is also one of the most powerful due to its ability to alter our rationality and self-control. The Stoics, with their focus on self-discipline, teach us that we are not simply animals driven by our desires. We have the ability to reason, choose, and control our actions. Your true power, as an individual, is not in how much pleasure you can get, but in how much you can control yourself. Imagine having the kind of self-control that allows you to make decisions completely aligned with your values and life goals. That's what empowers you, being master of yourself. And yes, abstaining from sex can be a way to exercise that control. This doesn't mean that sex is bad, but the act of consciously abstaining can be a practical exercise in self-discipline. It can teach you a lot about your drives, your desires, and ultimately who you are as a person. By mastering that impulse, you are also honing your ability to master other impulses and distractions that could prevent you from achieving your greatest goals in life. The key here is intentionality. If you are going to do any activity, even something as natural as sex, do it with full awareness and understanding of your motivations and their long-term consequences. When you exercise self-discipline, you take control of your life. You stop being a passenger driven by desires and circumstances and take the reins of your destiny. So the next time you find yourself in a situation where self-control is at stake, remember that you have the strength and power to choose, and that choice can be the first step toward a more stoic, more meaningful, and more meaningful life. Gratifying. Number 2, detachment from ephemeral pleasures. From here we will delve even further into the wise teachings of Stoic philosophy, and detachment is one of the most important points. Modern society constantly bombards us with the idea that pleasure is good, that we should seek it at every opportunity and avoid pain at all costs. But have you ever thought about how long that pleasure really lasts? It is often momentary, fleeting, and disappears almost as quickly as it came, leaving us longing for more. And this considering that the desired pleasure was obtained, and not that the unbridled search ended in dissatisfaction and frustration. The Stoics teach us something very different, that true peace and happiness come from detachment, from not allowing our emotional well-being to depend on things that are outside our control, and this includes sexual pleasure. Detachment from ephemeral pleasures does not mean that you cannot enjoy the good things in life. It means that you do not become a slave to those pleasures, that you do not let them dictate your actions or consume your thinking. Imagine if you could free yourself from the constant need to seek external gratification. How much mental energy you would have available, how much clearer your focus would be, and how much more aligned your actions would be with your true goals and values. That's what detachment can do for you. By practicing detachment, you can transform your life in ways you never imagined. You do not become someone without emotions or desires, but someone who deeply understands what really matters. You become, in essence, the master of yourself, and in that self-mastery you will find a satisfaction much more lasting and meaningful than any fleeting pleasure could provide you. Start practicing detachment and free yourself from the chain of fleeting pleasures. You don't need to be a philosopher or a Stoic, just become aware of your value and power and exercise it. Number 3. Focus on long-term goals. After exploring the importance of self-control and detachment from ephemeral pleasures, we are faced with an equally revolutionary truth: the importance of focusing on long-term goals. Let's think about the great Stoic philosophers, Seneca, Epictetus, Marcus Aurelius. They were not looking for immediate gratification. They were committed to virtues such as wisdom, justice, and courage, goals that take a lifetime to cultivate. That is the essence of a long-term goal. When we are caught up in the pursuit of immediate pleasures, we lose perspective on what really matters. But when we focus on long-term goals, we change the entire game. When you focus on what is truly important for your life and the lives of your loved ones, you begin to put your goals in perspective and plan how to achieve them. Suddenly, you feel free. Your eyes are open to a new way of seeing life. You are no longer a slave to fleeting desires or trapped in the endless cycle of wanting, getting, enjoying momentarily, and then wanting more. Instead, you're on a path with a sense of direction, a path that leads you toward the best version of yourself. Now, focusing on long-term goals doesn't mean you should ignore everything else. What it means is that your perspective changes. You stop being guided by what you want now and start moving based on what will be best for you in the future. And that has a powerful impact not only on the results you get, but also on the person you become in the process. This approach frees you from the emotional roller coaster that comes with seeking immediate pleasures. Instead, you find a much deeper sense of peace and satisfaction because you know you are working towards something that really matters. It's time for you to take inventory of your goals, align them with a long-term vision for your life. Try to make all the necessary adjustments. And remember, long-term goals are like a beacon in the distance. You may not know exactly how you will get there, but as long as you keep your eyes on it, you will always have a direction to move in. Don't stray. Number 4. Strengthen emotional relationships. We already defined the importance of focusing on long-term goals. It's time to take it a step further and talk about something we often underestimate: strengthening our emotional relationships. If Stoic philosophy has taught us anything, it is that human connections are fundamental to a life well lived. The great Stoic philosophers, such as Marcus Aurelius and Epictetus, tell us about the importance of social duty and empathy. We cannot be an island. We are social beings by nature, and our relationships are a mirror in which we can see our best and worst qualities reflected. Now you might be wondering, what does this have to do with abstaining from sex with a Stoic approach? Well, it has a lot to do with it. By strengthening our emotional relationships, we prevent fleeting sexual desire from distorting our judgment and compromising the quality of our interactions. In other words, sex can be wonderful, but if it becomes the main focus, we might overlook the deeper subtleties and beauties of human connection. Focus on building relationships that have real meaning. Learn to listen, to share, to be vulnerable, and to give without expecting something in return. When you do this, you create a safe space for emotional growth, both for yourself and the people around you. This, in turn, strengthens your character and makes you a more balanced and emotionally resilient person. This is wonderful and liberating, right? Instead of getting stuck on the hamster wheel of instant gratification and constant disappointment, you reach a level where you can enjoy deeper, more meaningful, and lasting connections. So, if you're ready to take life to the next level, start investing in your emotional health. Learn to love more deeply, forgive more quickly, and appreciate more fully. In this investment lies the secret of a full life, full of love and rich in emotional experiences. Number 5. Prevent unwanted consequences. At this point, it's time to get into a slightly more pragmatic, but equally crucial and extremely important topic: preventing unintended consequences. Yes, we are talking about those complications that we often forget in the heat of the moment, but can have a lasting impact on our lives. Stoic philosophers have always emphasized the importance of living a virtuous life, and one of those virtues is prudence. Prudence not only means thinking before acting, but also considering the future implications of our actions. In the context of sex, this could include everything from preventing sexually transmitted diseases to avoiding complicated relationships or even, in some cases, unwanted pregnancies. Again, we are not saying that sex is bad. In reality, it can be a beautiful expression of love and a vital component of human intimacy, but it also has the power to become a vector for serious complications if not approached with due care and consideration. By taking a more stoic and reflective approach, you can evaluate whether the sexual act you are considering truly aligns with your deepest principles and long-term well-being. Before embarking on a sexual relationship, you should reflect and ask yourself if that action will bring you closer to the person you want to be, if it will bring something positive to your life, or if you are prepared to face the possible consequences. This reflection is not a simple mental exercise. They are practical tools that help you live more deliberately and consciously. And believe me, that's powerful. Preventing unwanted consequences not only protects you and your partner, but also strengthens you as an individual, making you more aware, more responsible, and ultimately more in tune with the Stoic philosophy of living a virtuous and meaningful life. Number 6, maintain mental clarity. Let us now delve into another very important topic for Stoic philosophy. It's amazing how, in the modern world, we are constantly bombarded by distractions and stimuli that seek to divert our attention. And yes, sex can be one of those stimuli. But let's stop for a moment. The Stoics teach us the importance of ataraxia, a state of tranquility and mental clarity free of emotional disturbances. It is in this state where we find our best version, capable of making more rational decisions aligned with our fundamental values. So what happens when we allow our sexual urges to cloud that clarity? We can end up making hasty decisions that not only affect our emotional well-being, but can also lead us down paths that do not align with our long-term goals. Mental clarity is like a calm lake. Imagine throwing a stone into that lake. The waves disturb the calm and create a distortion on the surface. Similarly, making impulsive decisions in the sexual sphere can create ripples in our mental clarity, leading us to states of confusion, guilt, or regret. Now, the key here is not to avoid sex or any other pleasure in life, but to approach it with a clear and conscious mindset, never lightly. Think seriously. Is this the person I want to share an intimate connection with? Will this sexual act improve my life and that of my partner? Will it lead to me being happier in the long run? If you can answer these questions with a resounding and conscious yes, then you are on the right track. Let us remember that mental clarity is one of our most powerful tools in the search for a full and meaningful life. Preserving that clarity is, in many ways, an act of love for ourselves and for our partner, also manifesting respect for our most authentic essence. Number 7, energy conservation. Now is the time to talk about a concept that, although it may seem a little abstract, is absolutely central to the life of anyone who aspires to live according to Stoic principles: energy conservation. In this fast-moving society where we are asked to always be on the go, it is no wonder that many of us feel exhausted. And yes, sex, like any other human activity, also consumes energy. We can give a simple example, as in the case of athletes who abstain from having sex before a competition, so as not to exhaust their energy by risking failure. But aside from the context given in the example, the key question is that energy invested in a way that contributes to our long-term well-being, or is it simply dissipated in momentary pleasures? Stoics are big proponents of channeling our energy effectively, directing it toward actions and goals that really matter. In other words, it is crucial that we consider where we spend our life energy. We must invest our energy in activities that promote our personal growth, that strengthen our relationships and contribute to our peace of mind. We cannot waste it on instant gratifications that leave us empty and exhausted. Every sexual act can be a wonderful, connective experience, but it can also be a waste of energy if it doesn't align with our deepest values and goals. Sometimes it's better to conserve that energy for higher goals, like a life project that requires our full attention or a relationship that needs to be nurtured with love and care, rather than consumed by fleeting impulses. Committing to energy saving is not a call to abstinence, but rather an invitation to be more aware of how and with whom we share our vital energy. Because after all, energy is finite, and once spent, it takes time and effort to recover it. So take charge, conserve your energy for what really matters, and stay on the path to a life full of meaning and purpose. You have the power to decide. Number 8, avoid emotional dependence. Stoic philosophy teaches us the importance of autarky, which means being emotionally and mentally self-sufficient. In the pursuit of a life well lived, we cannot allow ourselves to be slaves to our emotions, much less to the emotions that others may generate in us. And this is where sex can become a double-edged sword, especially if it becomes a mechanism to gain validation, love, or even just attention. Yes, sex can be a beautiful experience, a form of deep and meaningful connection with another person. But when it becomes the only means through which we believe we can obtain love or validation, we become emotionally dependent. This is not the path to emotional freedom that the Stoics promote. Your happiness cannot depend on another person. Why allow your inner peace to depend on something as volatile as another person's attention or affection? This is a risky bet, and in most cases it will leave us disappointed. So what to do? First, you need to cultivate your own inner garden, to speak in Stoic terms. You need to know that you are enough on your own, that you have the power and ability to create happiness and meaning from within. By doing so, any relationship you have will become an addition to your already rich life, not a prerequisite to feeling complete and happy. Focus on building a strong relationship with yourself before looking for it in others. Take an inventory of your qualities, value your merits, and work on your defects, not to make another person happy, but to grow and evolve as a human being. Remember, avoiding emotional dependence is not synonymous with avoiding human connections. It's about having the wisdom to know where to place our emotional energy and the strength to not let our inner peace be dictated by the actions or feelings of others. Number 9, improve self-esteem, a topic that goes hand in hand with everything we have discussed so far. Self-esteem is not simply how you feel about yourself on a good day. It's really about the enduring, resilient image you have of who you are at your core. It's easy to feel good about ourselves when everything is going well, but the true measure of self-esteem is how we feel when things get difficult. Stoic philosophy reminds us that sex or any other ephemeral pleasure is not a viable solution to improving our self-esteem. Yes, it may offer instant gratification and a temporary increase in how we feel about ourselves, but what then? Once the moment has passed, we return to the starting point, or worse yet, we feel an emptiness that seems even greater than before. So how can you improve self-esteem from a Stoic perspective? It begins with self-awareness, with knowing ourselves deeply, understanding our strengths and weaknesses. Instead of seeking external validation, we should develop our own internal metrics of success and satisfaction, since all human beings are different and cannot be compared to each other. This means practicing virtues, such as wisdom, courage, justice, and self-discipline. By living by these principles, you are not only more respectful of yourself and others, but you are also a person that others will respect and value. Improving self-esteem is a journey, not a destination. It is a continuous process of self-discovery, self-reflection, and self-improvement. When you take the path of Stoic philosophy, you realize that you don't need ephemeral pleasures to validate your existence or make you feel good about yourself. So the next time you find yourself in a situation where you're tempted to use sex or any other pleasure as a way to feel better about yourself, pause, breathe, and remember that your value doesn't come from passing experiences, but of the solid and virtuous character that you are building every day. Number 10, respect personal values and principles. One of the most treasured gems of Stoic philosophy is its emphasis on living in accordance with nature. which includes adhering to a strong set of values and principles. This is not the kind of treasure that can be found in fleeting pleasures. It is something that is built day by day, decision after decision. Imagine yourself in a situation where you feel pressured, whether by your partner, your friends, or even society, to compromise your personal values regarding sex. The Stoics would tell you to stop, reflect, and act on your principles, not on the expectations of others. When you give in to external pressure, not only are you being unfair to the other person by not giving them your authentic self, but you're also being unfair to yourself. You are betraying yourself, and that is the most serious thing. Living by your values and principles gives you a kind of armor. It is not a barrier that isolates you from the world, but rather a filter that helps you interact in a more meaningful and authentic way. Let your decisions, including those related to sex, be a clear reflection of who you are and what you value most. This approach will not only improve your overall well-being, but it also makes any relationship you have richer, deeper, and more connected. If you ever find yourself at a crossroads, remember this principle. Pause and consider which decision most closely aligns with your values. By doing so, you not only respect yourself, but also invite the respect of others, setting a standard of integrity and authenticity. Today, we have walked an unconventional path together, exploring how Stoic philosophy can influence our decisions about something as intimate and personal as sex. But let's not forget that the essence of Stoicism is not to limit ourselves, but to free ourselves from irrational impulses, from society's approval, and from everything that does not align with our deepest values and principles. Each point we have discussed is a step towards a fuller, more conscious and authentic life. Remember that every conscious choice you make based on sound principles will bring you one step closer to the kind of life you aspire to have. A fulfilled life in which happiness is not a fleeting emotion, but a sustained state of well-being and meaning. Thank you for joining me on this journey to understand how Stoic wisdom can enrich our understanding of sex and relationships. If you liked it, give us a like and leave us your comments. Subscribe to the channel so you can continue with us on this journey towards self-knowledge and self-realization. Until next time.